Typically, this should be the time of me continuing the newbie-friendly, very extensive Rhino guide, but today, we got something to address. This video right here. Let's lay down the ugly words first. MHBlacky, if you don't know how to mod Rhino properly, or lack the proper knowledge to even make good use of him, don't make a video about it because someone will shit on you. And this is not your first time already. Anyways, I will be breaking down and give you reasons why this quote-unquote guide from MHBlacky lacks even the most basic capacity and understanding of Rhino. Poor modding choices, poor ideas, suggestions, and the devoid of comfortability over anything. Judging by the title, it's pure clickbait and just YouTube game. Rhino has not received any direct Rhino-only buffs for over 9 years. Be honest with your title. Thanks. With this logic, I could also say that everything that is introduced is also a buff to Rhino, and obviously, that's a blatant lie.
Correctly buffed in 2025, and Broke can also be built to one-hit absolutely everything up to level 10,000 with no complicated setup needed whatsoever. And with my last Rhino video being, old enough to make an update, I guess.
You said your last Rhino guide is at 2023? One real answers? That last Rhino guide is trash. Let's keep this straight. Let's hope we can do better this time.
If you go for him into Viri, then as part of this reward rotation, you will also obtain his Augment Mod Ironclad Charge, which is by far the most important augment on Rhino.
Ironclad Charge is by far the most important augment on Rhino. Tell me you didn't understand Rhino enough without you telling me that you didn't understand Rhino enough. Ironclad Charge is good, yes, but tell me, is it practical? Is it even good now? You know J-Light exists, right? Can you imagine a day that one enemy can simply do what a hyper, uncomfy, outshine setup does, but better? Even at the very thoughts of saying Ironclad Charge is important simply proves that you barely even understood Rhino. You know almost nothing about this frame, and you had the audacity to make a guide about it. In reality, there's not a single augment of Rhino that is as essential as Reinforcing Storm, and even then, it is not 100% mandatory. Enemy damage always outshines because that's the amount you need for the level, not the amount that looks good for YouTube and felt unnecessary.
As you probably already know, if you fall down with your warframe from a certain height, then you'll be stopped in your movement for a bit with your warframe going
There's a thing called sliding and it cancels the hard landing animation. Your knowledge game is lacking here. Also, have anyone not seen what I can do with his passive? A shame that this is my second most popular video, but whatever I guess.
If you maybe have a melee weapon that needs to do a ground finisher, this could potentially be of some use, otherwise we can just forget about it.
Forget about it? I guess someone didn't see what I did with Rhino's passive, and not even mentioning on the fact that it stacks with heavy impact, which the wiki literally tells you that.
Rhino's first skill is called Charge, and on the one hand, this ability is one of the most essential of his entire kit, but on the other hand, kind of forgettable.
It's the most replaceable ability of Rhino. You use this ability only for speed. I already made a video about it, otherwise, replace it. Not even Ironclad Charge is enough to make you keep it.
Now, let's be 100% real here. Yes, if you specifically build for it, you can make an argument that Rhino's Charge is actually a pretty decent mobility tool.
The notion of modding high range on him already proves that he didn't know how Rhino Charge works and simply doesn't know the technique called RCBJ cancelling. Again, please refer to this video. We are just into his first ability and I'm seeing mistakes after mistakes. Can you please do some actual research and watch some videos before you make this Rhino quote-unquote guide? I see no basic explanation of set mechanic and the properties of Rhino Charge and how it preserves momentum.
Now, you might be wondering, why is it necessary to stack up all that much armor? And to be able to answer that,
why is it necessary, you ask? Let me answer it for you. None. Zero. Why is there a time you need 3 million overguard for, when enemy at even steel path level 200 deals 549 damage per bullet towards you? You waste so many slots for an unnecessary defense increase. Ironclad Charge is overkill for levels that you are in, completely underwhelming when you actually need it, aka endurance runs or level cap. Zero purpose of an augment, and its best use is literally HP tanking Rhino, and it's better than whatever you have right there.
Meaning if you have very high armor, the moment you cast Iron Skin, then the overguard figures that you're generating will be absolutely ridiculous, up into the millions.
Any person who even looks at the formula of how Iron Skin scales can tell you that enemy damage is a thing. Spend this much time yapping when Jade-like excitements exist. This one enemy single-handedly turns Rhino beyond unkillable levels for all the content that DE intended. Not even Drop Guard can counter it by investing in, guess what? Nothing additional on Rhino. Just stand under green light and cast Iron Skin repeatedly and bam, 2 million for free. Imagine all these setups, imagine all these unneeded synergies just to get outshined by an enemy that is in the game with a dirt cheap cost. Any Rhino players knew this, and don't give me excuse that you didn't know this. Jade Shadows update was literally a year ago.
However, as nice as all of this sounds, Iron Skin has one big problem. You can't recast it. If you want to fill up the overguard more, you'll have to wait for it to be shot down to 0 before you can cast it again.
I really wanna drop a meet the MHBlackies because someone had to be so lacking in their understanding of a frame that you didn't know that reinforcing storm exists. Everything you said is a click of oh, someone's assumed it up. No wonder. Isn't this just the consequences of your actions and poor understanding of a frame? You know all these players who uses Jade Light, they get to keep Rhino Storm. So does Reinforcing Storm. Imagine seeing their precious overguard dropping, even at EDA and ETA. See? Ineffective, uncomfortable, impractical.
Mid-game, this does some pretty decent damage. However, once you go in a steel path and enemies become much tankier, I personally don't think that the damage is worth it. You may disagree, but I am not gonna do that.
Cue the Dystopia video, I guess. I don't even want to mention that a certain arcane allows infinite damage M for Iron Shrapnel.
And all the enemies in a 25-meter radius are knocked down, making your passive even further obsolete, and they all receive 5 puncture status effects. So yeah, all in all, I can totally see the intrigue of this mod, not gonna lie, but I personally do not like it enough to dedicate one mod slot for it. I'd say just play around with it and decide for yourself.
Piercing Rod is an S tier augment for Rhino, but again, not necessary. Cutting enemy damage down at the right time translates into giving Overguard a 80% damage reduction, and this is a frame with infinite survivability scaling, by the way.
They're lifted into the air, their body posture if you so want, makes it very difficult to headshot them in this state, meaning for ranged weapon players, this is quite the nuisance.
Can agree with the angle, it's definitely annoying. I don't see the problem because I'm quite experienced, but you do you.
And secondly, Stomp costs 100 whopping energy to cast.
100 energy? We talking about energy economy in big 2025? My Thermal Thunder spam build, which you can assume that I cast this very frequently with 45% efficiency, spends 10 times more than Rhino Storm spam builds could ever be, and I still have zero problems with it. You cast Rhino Storm like 2 to 3 times per minute, and that's nothing for energy econ we have access to right now. It's not even close to any ability spammer's frame cost. If you find Rhino Storm even being remotely expensive, that's a build issue, because anyone these days, slap me Equilibrium and you are good to go.
Which is a whole lot if you consider Caliban has pretty much the same ability, just And finally, also Stomp does have an augment called Reinforcing Stomp. What this does is, now, I've seen a lot of posts of people saying that it is actually really darn good and how they would build around it. However, I'm just not a fan of Reinforced Stomp builds.
If you are not a fan, then you cannot complain on the fact that you are playing a way worse version of Rhino because you asked for it. Why even complain that you cannot refill your Iron Skin when you don't like Reinforcing Storm? You reap what you sow. I'ma be real with you.
Where we can already attempt to make a full build. So let's talk about the builds, and what we have here would be the very early on build.
Vitality on Rhino. Are you for real? Range mod is better here. The build is so that expensive as well, but I guess it's Rhino, so it works fine for the early. There's a reason that Rhino is the second frame you did get, because he can simply function with 0 mod.
In the aura, we go for Dreamer's Bond, as it is the first aura that you'll ever gain access to. If you already have something else, like for example Energy Siphon, which is one early game favorite of mine.
Energy Siphon? You know that polarity ain't fit, right? Rhino's aura slot is Madurai aka Y. Either it is Dreamer's Bond or Steel Charge.
As by default, you're gonna have 4200 Iron Skin, and that's gonna make you much tankier than whatever health you have here.
That's why you don't make beginner builds on prime frames. As a content creator, you should know that Rhino Prime has 50 more base armor than Rhino and 1 additional Narrowman polarity or dash. You don't want to showcase this on base Rhino, and now it backfires. Because on base Rhino, you only get 3120 overguard before enemy damage instead of 4240, while showing inaccurate power stats because someone had 3 Archon strength shards on Rhino Prime, skewing the number further. Did you know you just downright spread a misinformation that can be totally avoided if you just don't be lazy on the video you make?
And in general, the main things that have changed about the build is that we replaced Normal Intensify with the Umbral version. If you do not have the Umbral mods just yet, you're perfectly free to stick with Normal Intensify for the time being.
Just go Intensify plus Transient Fortitude instead of Augur Secrets and Umbral Intensify. The former combination is cheaper, easier to get, easier to level up, and no bounty mission needed, and way more strength by just costing 4 more capacity and a small card in duration. If you are that insist on Ironclad, strength is everything since it affects 3 abilities.
And the other one is a very funny interaction that will allow you to one-hit enemies even at level cap. And if you want to abandon your family because your kid uses Reinforced Stomp, then go and buy cigarettes just to never return.
Before you make jokes, remember that you ain't beating the mainstream warframe YouTuber is bad at the game allegations, bro.
This right here would be the build. As I initially said, Arcane Tanker as a armor bonus.
Slotting in Umbral Fiber? You already had either Parasitic Armor and Arcane Tanker, which are both flat armor increases by the way, already pushing your base armor towards the moon. You think that little increase in armor on top of strength due to set bonus means anything at this point? You better off throw Augur Secrets there and you did be seeing a bigger return because strength is just everything for builds like this. Oh great! My favorite 72.5% duration right now. Surely Raw won't feel so terrible to use.
With this build right here, you're looking at 300,000 to 500,000 maximum overguard, which is perfectly fine for all Steel Path applications.
High strength with Nourish, again, huge mistake. Not only you ruin the elemental weighting of your weapon, you also make DOT proc less, which is indirectly decreasing Rhino's damage.
This right here is much more investment friendly, let's put it like that. On the build itself, what we're focusing on is as much ability strength as possible, as you can also see right here.
Give me 3 reasons not to completely dunk on you now. This build is genuinely the worst thing a YouTuber can even make. First of all, if you don't have any intention to use Rhino Charge, sub it out. Keeping a dead ability for what? For the memes? You would rather sub out Rhino Storm for this. Is your brain made up of Revenant Torrid? Instead of Streamline, someone could have just put Equilibrium, but I guess someone's pet is Shade. Of course. Shade in big 2025. Are you for real? What pet you are smoking right now? Give me some, will ya? Because I never expect to see Arcane Crepuscular on Rhino and you wanna pair it with Shade.
From Arcane Crepuscular, and also it massively helps with survivability because if enemy can't see you, then enemy can't hit you.
All this pointless work just to show that not only you do not understand how to survive properly on Rhino, you would rather do unnecessary work just to avoid that when Madurai is literally just there. You playing Rhino is a disgrace. Let's get this straight. Okay, video done. I wish I can unseen this video because I've never seen someone this bad at making a guide for a warframe that makes Bullseye and Nightmare Frame looks like a good Rhino player in comparison, because as bad as their Rhino video can be, this one simply takes the crown. I have not seen any Rhino guide that is this poorly made. MHBlacky, if you are watching this, you are an utter disgrace as a content creator. I'ma just be real with you. Mo responded to your abysmal garbage that is the Whips guide already, and now you are making the same mistake again? 0 out of 10.